This video tutorial I will cover auto component scan annotation types. Add component annotation indicates a auto scan component. Add controller annotation indicates a controller component in the presentation layer. Add service annotation indicates a service component in the business layer. Add repository annotation indicates a DAO component in the persistent layer. Out of these four annotations, we will see which one to use. Here you can see service annotation, which is annotated with @component annotation. Here you can see repository annotation, which is annotated with @component annotation. Here you can see controller annotation. It is annotated with @component annotation. So all these annotations are annotated with @component annotation. So we can just use @component annotation for all the components for auto scanning. But it is not good practice. We have to use @service annotation for service component in the business layer, and we have to use @repository annotation for DAO component in the persistent layer. We have to use @controller annotation for controller component in the presentation layer, so that readability of our code will be good. Here I have defined the class employee service, and I have applied @service annotation. So this class acts as a service component in the business layer. Here I have defined the class employee DAO, and I have applied @repository annotation. So this class acts as a DAO component in the persistent layer. Employee service class has dependent object employee DAO. Here I have applied @auto-void annotation. So Spring container creates employee DAO object and inject into employee service object. And it has add employee method. And here I have overridden toString method. And employee DAO class has add employee method. This is a Spring configuration file. Spring container read this Spring configuration file, and it scan this package. And if Spring container find any class annotated with @service or @repository or @component or @controller, then it will create object of that class and register it in the Spring container. Here I have defined the class app. Here I have created application context object by reading Spring configuration file, using getBean method of application context object, getting employee service object from Spring container, and calling add employee method. Here you can see the output.